Long time no see. Hello, YouTube. Hope everything's been going well with everyone. And in my case, just an update. I've been doing better, as well as expected. For someone as out of shape as I am, which I admit to, allowed myself to get a little bit fatter and older and not exercise enough and not do a lot of other stuff that I shouldn't have done. But you do what you can. I don't care what people accuse you of and being lazy or not having the willpower or whatever, That's just whatever you are. Now, you should try, but, I'll lose 2 pounds and gain back 3, so it doesn't work real well for me. But then again, I learned earlier on I might be more disciplined now, healthier now, but the other payoff is I wouldn't necessarily be who I am now, which is not necessarily good or bad, but there you go. Sometimes one thing affects the other, and you're either better off for it or not. I might not be as well off for it health-wise, but maybe in a psychiatric sense, I'm healthier in the mind because I don't have a lot of the cares and woes some people carry around with them. Of course, I have my own set, so who's to say that my set's any less stressful or less crazy than anyone else's, so there you go. What I'm trying to say is that I don't think that a lot of the judgments that people make are always accurate. They say what they would do if they were that person, but they're not that person. And you really don't have all the factors there. You don't know what you'd do if you were that person. I think I was hyperactive before they had that as a condition that could be diagnosed. And in fact, I might also have been a little bit of Asperger's syndrome before they had that condition to be diagnosed. And I don't know that either condition have made things particularly worse for me. But because I was real energetic early on when I was young, I think I was encouraged later on to settle down more and don't be so energetic. So then before I know it, instead of going out and playing a lot of outside games or sports and stuff, I'm inside reading books or drawing or playing music or doing other things. And so, when your attention gets shifted around like that and people tell you what you ought to do, and they mean well, and are not necessarily to blame any more than you are, but what happens is then your focus goes to some other area. And you might not be as good at something that you were really better on to begin with. I don't know that I'd be a lot more healthier if I'd stayed as energetic and run around like I was crazy. I'd climb trees and run around the jungle gyms and play sets that they had in the parks and stuff like a monkey. In fact, I even was accused by my grammar school teachers of having monkey fever. Just meaning that I guess I was not quite their opinion of what human should be. I was a little too wild and crazy. And I don't think they really meant any harm, but, all of these things are just things that you go through. And my weight issues and other health issues are just something I'm going through, and maybe I'll be able to adjust it. I don't know. I haven't been real successful at this point, and I wonder, I may not have that much longer to live because of it. I have heart problems. I have diabetes. I have other problems. Obviously, I need to work on it, but, I have to work a regular job too, and that barely pays bills. It doesn't pay for fancy health clubs or fancy health food or anything like that. or a lot of the medicines or therapy that I've been prescribed to take or go through or whatever. I can't afford it. It's where maybe this universal health care will help with, but too little too late. Oh well. And I'm not blaming anyone, but see, there's my points. That means why aren't you more fit, or why didn't you eat better, or why haven't you been more active? And I'm not saying that there aren't things I could do. Everybody can do more than what they're doing, or can they? But, you know, there are other circumstances too, and I'm not trying to make excuses. But see, I'm not judging everyone else. I'm just trying to address those that would judge me. And if you're going to judge me, then maybe you ought to look at your own habits and say, well, maybe I shouldn't be so judgmental. Maybe I shouldn't be poking criticism at others when there are plenty of things in my own darn life that aren't right. You know, I'm just saying. And then this is partly just an excuse for those who are curious and not judgmental, that just want to know what's going on. Or a little more about me, how I got to the point I'm at. And, you know, I think a lot of it is where I'm just sort of happy-go-lucky. I don't stick to some things with a lot of discipline that maybe I should. But that allows me a little more time to be playful and creative. And I've always thought of myself as an artist, and I do a lot of drawings and make music and jokes and think of ideas and stuff, and read and do a lot of stuff that other people may not have time for because they got to go out and run, or they've got to close that big account that they went to school for 8 years and got a law degree or whatever. You know, I'm just saying, different people go on different paths. Theirs are probably no worse than mine. I'm not making a criticism of that, but maybe not, in some ways at least, particularly better. Living longer is not necessarily living better. I've already outlived what people lived 200 years ago, so, you know, that much is in my favor. I have a few regrets. I wish I'd concentrated on college the first time I was in and gotten that first 4-year degree in art, but I flunked out of that at a party too much and didn't complete all my projects and ended up dropping out, really, but about the same as flunking out. I didn't actually get bad grades as much as got to a certain point where I hadn't turned in enough work that I just couldn't catch up, and I just stopped going, or I told them to unenroll me or whatever. So that's a bit of a regret. No telling what kind of career path I could have gone on from there. Of course, I was just an art degree, Bachelor of Fine Arts in Art, but 4-year college degree means something, and that opens certain doors that I've gone back since then and gotten a 2-year college degree. 2-year college degree doesn't open the same doors, or not as many, so that opportunity would be a little greater had I finished that first bout round that I was in college. And that's a good tip to the youngsters in the crowd. Stay in school and finish and get your degree. Don't let stupid stuff like not turning in an assignment or not going back, being afraid to go back to one of your teachers and asking them, what can I do for extra credit to get just enough where I can at least pass and get my degree, and go ahead and see it through. And when you do that, that helps you the rest of your life. So that's real important. No matter what you do, it will increase what you are capable of making and the opportunities that you will be able to have and make for yourself just by having a little bit greater college degree than you would have otherwise. And some people can't afford college. Well, that's not the right route for them. Maybe they're going to go to the military, or maybe they're going to go to a trade school, or they have other talents and opportunities open up for them. And that's all fine. I'm not making judgments there either. We all have a unique experience of life, and that's beautiful, and that should be encouraged and utilized to the greatest extent that you're able to. And of course, look at me, I did okay. If you don't finish that degree, don't feel like it's the end of the world, or that you can't go back and maybe finish it later, or that you can't go back and get a 2-year degree, or whatever it is. But, you do the best you can when you go, and that's another thing I guess I would like to say is just try not to carry a lot of regrets. There's not a lot you can do to change the past. You may be able to improve your lot by going back to school, but if you made a bad decision in the past, it may be that was the best decision that you could make at the time. If you'd known better, maybe you'd made a better decision, but you didn't. And it's not helping your future, worrying over, fretting over, or being sad about your past. You got to pick yourself up, brush yourself off, figure out what your next strategy is, and make better decisions if you can. Learn from your past decisions anyway. So here I am, for whatever reason, however I got here, and whatever future there may be. I don't think it's quite as dim as that might seem. I'm not making this like a last will and testament or anything. I've probably got 5, 10, 20 years. I don't know. A lot of us don't know. If I got myself a lot healthier, if I could lose some weight, I might, live till I'm 100 or something. I'm a little past half of that now, so anything can happen. You never know. Also wanted to address one other thing, major thing. We've got a election coming up in the U.S., presidential election. And hopefully it will go the way that seems like it's going to go. Seems like it's common sense to go. But you never know what common sense is. What's common for one person is not common for the other. What seems sensible for one person doesn't seem sensible for the other. But I see a lot of this dirty politics and mudslinging and mud raking and stuff, and wonder, how does anybody see the truth of anything and know what to make as far as a good decision? And it's hard. And there's economic issues, and there's medical health issues, and there's energy and transportation and housing and welfare and employment and all these issues. And, all of that goes into what your decision should be as far as in a democracy. You should be one of those voices if you have that opportunity and right to vote. A few people mess up and lose their right to vote. A few other people may not be qualified if they're not actual citizens yet. They may be working on that, but may not make it in time for this election. But use as many resources as you can. Make an informed decision as best you can. And by that, an informed decision, best one as you can. By that, I mean, don't just listen to the people that you want to listen to. Don't just look at the statistics about things that are going to make it look like what you think it should look like. Because I'm going to tell you what, there's some people in U.S. politics in the past 40 years of my being aware of it, who just downright lie. They're liars. And they take information and they repackage it so it looks like something they want to say, and try to make it something, an issue that will work for them, get people to vote for them. And then once they're in there, they do whatever they want. and a lot of times it's not for the good of the people, or not for the good of the people that, even the people that voted for them. A lot of them don't get the benefit they thought they'd get, or they get a small benefit that they were concerned about, but that wasn't the big picture, and then they end up in an economic problem or another crisis that is much worse. And I guess some of you are already going to be spotting it coming. Here it comes. I'm not particularly flaming, knee-jerk, burning heart liberal. I'm not way over on the left side about most things. I believe in the fiscal responsibility of our politicians, for them to try not to spend too much money and make government bigger than it needs to be. But I do support government being a certain size that it needs to be in order to help support the people. And then see those that would be against that, say, oh, they're not supposed to support the people. People support the government. Well, that's right. People need to support the government and pay the government taxes, so that then the government can provide certain services for those people, services they can't get otherwise. And that's just the best way to have a government. So we're supporting the government, and the government is supporting us. It goes back and forth, and that's what makes it worth it. So if you're willing and want to have a police force and a fire department and accessible health care and other goods and services, roads that are decent, job, employment opportunities, decent housing opportunities, an environment that's not just way over polluted and air can't breathe, the water can't drink, and things like this, then you need to have a cooperative agreement amongst the people in your neighborhood or in your city or state or country to make those laws, regulations, and restrictions that will force most of the people to do right and to not break those laws, not mess up your environment, not mess up the jobs, or, go in and just destroy industries, or not encourage crime and not encourage, welfare cheats or that kind of thing. I'm not trying to say for any one way all the way stuff, but you've got to have some of it regulated and controlled by the government. That's called civilization. If you're not willing to participate in civilization, then maybe you need to go to some place way off in the woods somewhere where you can be all on your own and just leave the rest of us alone, because the rest of society don't particularly want people that don't want to participate and don't want to do their part. And so, if you're all crazy in the head, got some idea of what that is, and gonna make everybody else do what you want them to do, that's another one of those areas where maybe you ought to go off in the woods and start your own little commune, but leave the rest of the people of this society alone, because that's another thing. As far as religious ideology and whatever your beliefs are, and I'm not talking against believing in God or anything else like that, but I'm saying there's a line to draw there, because some people have one belief and some have another belief, and the only way we can live together in a society with both sets of beliefs is if we encourage a certain amount of tolerance. And if you don't have that tolerance, then you don't deserve to be in our society, which is built, founded, the Constitution guarantees freedom of religion, a certain tolerance that you can have with religion that you want, as long as your religion is not stopping others from having their religion. When you start stopping others from having their beliefs or their religion, then your religion needs to be controlled and put to the side, or made to be quiet, or made to participate, but without trying to rule and punish and alienate from everyone else from that society because you believe your religion's right. I'm sorry. You don't get to do that. And if God needs you to do that, then God's not very powerful. Or He's not encouraging the right people to encourage others. Because a lot of these people that are these crazy religious fanatics now, I'm telling you, they done got a screw loose and they don't know it. And if anything, it's Satan or it's some other evil force that's trying to influence them to believe that they've got the right way, and they don't. And they want to tell everybody else what way they need to have. And you can list a bunch of them. The whole thing down there in Ghana, Jim Jones's camp, David Koresh, the guys that were for that Bob Hotep Comet, Heaven's Gate group. You can just keep on naming them, all these little cults. And who knows if one or more of them, Charlie Manson, there's another, who knows if one or more of them may have had some of it right. I mean, I'm not here to tell you one is better or worse or whatever than the other. I'm just saying we need tolerance for them as much as we can until they do start hurting people, and then maybe that's not a good religion for society if it's going to be hurting people. And I don't believe that God wants us to hurt each other. He's preaching everywhere I've seen, every religion that I've ever read about, except maybe Satanism or a couple of the stranger ones, but almost every single one teaches you not to hurt your fellow man, teaches you to love him. And that's what I'm talking about. If you really are religious, and it's not a bad thing, I'm just saying if you really are, isn't the fundamental concept there usually love? Isn't that what they're saying? They're saying, you know, if you believe in an all-powerful God, let love be the answer. Ask Him for that love. Ask Him for that tolerance. I don't know. And I've been kind of crazy on one side or the other of that whole debate too. At times feeling like I was atheistic, or at other times feeling like I was completely a Jesus believer freak for that religion. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that religion, or anything wrong with being a freak for the religion, or whatever. But I felt like some of those times when I was really convinced that that was right, and that I was right about what I understood about it, I might have been wrong. I might have gone a little too far and let myself start judging others and condemning them, or feeling like, oh, look at them, they're not going to be saved. What can I do to save them? You know, I love them so much. And it not being a genuine feeling, I don't know how to say it. I may have actually felt like I wished they could be saved and that I loved them that much. But it not being from God, let's say it that way. It not being His, at that point, purpose for me to lead those people to salvation, or to what I thought salvation was. And, you know, I'm saying that either I was wrong in a lot of ways of what I thought it was, and or it wasn't my purpose, and or that maybe God didn't want me to do that. And who knows, maybe there are times that some circumstances that God does touch people and wants them to preach or witness or try to encourage people to follow that religion in one way or the other. And I think that can be good too. It's just that if you try to use force, or if you try to condemn someone, or you try to undermine them as a human being, or do other hateful things around them, to them, about them, you know, I'm not real sure that's what God would want you to do. So, I'm trying to live and let live. I'm trying to say, I have doubts at times, and then there are times that I do believe. So, I'd rather people didn't judge me and just be happy that I'm not a murderer. I'm not a crazy kook in the woods somewhere, even if I look like one. I'm not all hopped up on crazy drugs or running around with guns shooting people and stuff. So I'm actually a pretty good person. I'm actually doing pretty good for myself, at least surviving, at least in this economic time, barely. But not doing a lot of crazy stuff that people may otherwise associate a liberal, or a person that's, kooky looking, or someone who's not the typical person. You're making a lot of judgments about somebody that maybe you just don't know, or you're afraid of, or you're afraid that you might be that way, or that you might like some of the things that I'd have to say. I'm just saying we need to be tolerant of each other, even if we don't look the same. And we can still appreciate the talents and the things that the other person can bring to the table, their skills. And this society is a great society. I don't have anything against the U.S. overall, that we could be even a greater society, is what I'm saying, if we would practice a little bit of tolerance and not give in to these hate mongers and these people that try to rile up their emotions, these people that are trying to stick down the line about telling you what you should believe, or telling you what God wants you to believe, or telling you what's unholy or what's bad for society, and these things that you're making a judgment. Maybe that's not good. Maybe you're the problem, Don't like me telling you that. Well, how do you think I feel when you tell me that? So, I'm feeling better overall. My health issues have gotten better than they were. I still have a long way to go, probably, therapy-wise, and also just getting more energized, trying to get myself in a regular exercise routine daily. I do a lot more exercise now that I return back to work full-time on a regular basis, and that's helped some. But I'm tired at night a lot of times. When I get off, I just watch a little TV and go to sleep. Air conditioner kicking on. But so, the good news is I am doing better. I'm going to try to get back to doing some videos. And I hope this election will go well, no matter what people believe or vote, and how it turns out. And that the next 4 years of the U.S.'s political system will turn out okay. Appreciate everybody who has been supporting me behind the scenes, and or just making comments and asking about me. That makes me feel good. Makes me feel like people out there enjoy seeing some of these videos and enjoy hearing me, and makes me feel better. I appreciate that a lot. And hopefully I'll better get back and make some more videos. I want to do that, I really do. So, keep learning, stay in school, get that degree, work as hard as you can, but don't drive yourself crazy. Try to learn from your mistakes. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to not make some mistakes. You're going to make some mistakes. But don't carry it around like some huge regret. Learn from it and try not to repeat it, and make better decisions in the future. And instead of going around trying to repeat a bunch of nonsense and stuff, hating about people, say, well, yeah, I don't like that about them, but I like this about them. Or they may not have got that right, but they got this right. Find out what's good about it. Don't just pick at the bad. You might find out there's more good to some things than you thought. Or you're better off than you would have been if it was the other way around. Sometimes you don't know what's right or what's better. So that's where it's not good to make a lot of judgments. You end up being wrong a lot of the times. And that's one of the mistakes that I'm pointing out, saying let's try not to make so many of those mistakes, which starts with making that judgment. Good to have an opinion, but don't just pick one out of the blue and for no good reason, because That ain't good. If you don't know what you're talking about, then you're the problem. You're causing the misinformation. You're causing everyone to be all overstressed and hateful. That's not what life's about. Love a little bit. Peace.